Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. In this episode, we will also keep discussing and deliberating on the ongoing issue of the political problems or crises in Sudan. But before we start the episode, I would like to send our heartfelt and deepest condolences to those our people in Turkey and Syria who were hard hit by a devastating earthquake which claimed lives of more than 18,000 in both countries. So we are very, very sad, and we are sharing all sympathies with the people in Turkey and Syria. And I myself have very good connection with the TRT, the Turkish radio and the television. I send also to them my heartfelt condolences to the deaths of the 18 or more than 18,000 citizens of Turkey and Syria. May Almighty God rest their souls in peace in paradise. Okay, now in this episode we are happy to host two our distinguished persons who have very humanitarian activities in Sudan, here in an organization which is carrying the task of helping people. So very I would like to welcome Dr. Gariballah Al-Sharif Hamad, professor. He is a professor, actually professor in different universities, and also he's a social activist in strategic analyst, Professor Gariballah Al-Sharif Hamad. Also, I welcome Adam Ibrahim Abdullah. Adam Ibrahim Abdullah is a geochemist, or is kind of engineering. It is engineering combination which results in engineering. But he's also director in HAC, they call it HAC, the Humanitarian Aid Commission. This is the non-governmental organization which is working in this field. Welcome both of you in this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Horizon Dialogue Program. Thank you, TV.
Thank you very much. Okay, we start by Professor Gariballah. Professor Gariballah Sharif Hamad. Actually, we are continuing we discussed in the last 3 or 4 episodes. We discussed with different calibers of people active in politics, in the ongoing issues in Sudan since almost 15 months ago. Since the October 25th, 2021 change. Actually, my question is that we have last week some contradiction between the top leaders. First, in social activity, social function in River Nile state, General Burhan stated that they are waiting for the consensus, and they will not go all the way with one faction, talking about the FFC, Forces Freedom of Forces, and change the council, the Central Council.
Yeah.
Followed by General Kabashi also in Kadugli. He mentioned almost, he reiterated the same words, and he said that the signatories of the Framework Agreement are not enough, or did not reach the critical mass which will allow for a safe takeoff to the democratic change, the transition, which will have the army back to the barracks. The third, which contradicts both statements, came from the General Hamiti, Rapid Support Forces. He said, no, we don't have to go one step back in our path through the Framework Agreement. This is something binding. And so these people, they are a little bit confused about what is going on. Now we have a big problem. It seems that we have difference between military and military, difference between civilian and civilians. And we have difference between civilian and military. How can we value, how can you assess these statements with what is going on and after the presence of the 6 delegates from very important organizations and countries, together with the visit of the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov? How can you read this situation?
Okay. First of all the leaders you mentioned and the statements, I do believe that all leaders are agreed to framework agreement in order to be a base for takeoff for the future of Sudan. All of them viewed framework agreement is a bridge for the future. All of them like Sudan to be very stable, united, develop well. But I think what is showed by those leaders maybe for the different views because of their, for example, General Kabashi is a professional officer of Sudanese or Sudan Army. He studied well strategic studies concerned with national security threats, development, and so on. But General Himeti, many observers say that Himeti is only a militiaman.
Militiaman?
A militiaman leader. Not studied at College of Sudan Army. Military Army. He does not study strategic studies. Yes, he's a principal man. From the early beginning of the December revolution, sided with the protesters, with change, with freedom and change association. He would like to say, I'm still honest for them. I'm still honest for my principle to carry out what we agreed on by framework agreement also. But Kabashi views that unless majority of Sudanese people represented in political parties signed such framework agreement, unity, stability, and so may be threatened.
Maybe threatened.
Yes, maybe threatened.
But let me intervene. Let me interrupt you. I just have in mind. Okay, that's okay. I agree with you. Hamiti is consistent with the framework agreement. But why, from the beginning, why those who are now talking about the agreement, about including it, why did they sign from the beginning? Why did they sign the framework agreement? Why? If you have to, from the beginning, you should have said, okay, I will sign, definitely accept the terms, but condition, this condition which is put now should have been done before signing. What can you comment on this?
Yeah,
why did they not say that from the beginning? They said it after they signed the agreement in front of dignitaries, very, very important international figures. So how can you explain this? Is it a comeback? Is it a change of mind? What do you say? What do you call it?
Well, as I said before, Kabashi and Himeti, they all together agreed to such framework agreement.
Okay.
Kabashi views that unless all political parties or most of political parties sign on it, will never lead Sudanese people to what they aspire for. But Himeti may view this is a very important thing for him as a political leader now, before Sudanese people, before Freedom and Change Association and so on.
Okay. So what can you add to Professor Ghariballah? Adam.
Well,
Engineer, we call you engineer. Engineer Ibrahim
Adam.
Abdullah. Okay, Ibrahim. What can you add to what the professor said?
yeah, well, firstly, I want to restate a terminology of Humanitarian Aid Commission, which is HAG. It is a governmental body, not governmental organizations.
Okay, so governmental
Yes,
body.
it is governmental body who are monitoring the non-governmental organizations.
I see.
Yeah. Firstly, I would like to show our sad and emotional feeling with our brothers in Syria and in Turkish for that crisis, where they lost so families and so properties.
Okay.
We hope that the international family will play a humanitarian role to build their recovery again. Regarding the question about or intervention about this, what is happening within the or through the framework agreement, I wrote this agreement well and this document well and revised it. I think it could be the main base to discuss about. It touches most of the popular issues and popular political issues that can concern the Sudanese. About the idea of the leaders, military leaders, I think this is a mere diversity, and this is their notion and their view, and that is a matter of diversity. It cannot be problematic. Yes, Kabashi has his idea, which is logic, and Himeti also has his idea, it is logic. That's according to his view. They are not delegated from the public, so everyone can represent himself and to say what he agreed with. But the matter should be discussed by all. When it is concerning all Sudanese issues, that means predominant of the Sudanese should come down and discuss these things, these topics together, and to come in the line of what will benefit the overall benefits of the country and of the nation. I think that is the matter. Other question about the visitors, the official visitors to Sudan within a limited time, Russian foreign minister and the Troika representatives and others. I think that is very, very live thing, a live thing and a promising thing. That means Sudan is a very potential, and that is good for us. Every limb and every part is seeking for it is beneficial and it is advantage for forward. And now we are approaching a situation of a government. So everyone looks for his benefits. And that is, this matter is concerning our interest and our intentions. We have to work open mind to look for our national benefits and national advantage for the last results. I think that is the matter.
So you think because the six foreigners, the foreign delegates, they are very important by the way, because three of them are international organizations. UNITAMS, Volker UNITAMS, the United Nations, and IGAD, and African Union, plus they call it the tripartite mechanism, the quadruple mechanism which had America, England, Britain, Saudi Arabia, and Emirates, United Arab Emirates. So these are considered to be very, very important, and they are pushing for reconciliation. They are also talking the same thing. They would like to have the framework agreement open to be enlarged.
Yeah.
Enlarged to accommodate some to be on board, with the exception of the hostage regime leaders or hostage regime supporters. So, but the Freedom and Forces, the Central Committee, was very adamant about not accepting this. But now things is moving towards some, to include some of the especially the armed struggle leaders, especially Menawi and Jibril. Maybe if they get this on board, this may convince or give General Kabashi and Burhan, because General Kabashi repeatedly, I heard him, he said a consensus is impossible. He's not looking for consensus, all people. He said, but a sizable factions of the political arena to be on board the framework agreement, then you accept. But he did not say, I'm against the framework agreement. So this is, but anyhow, let us move to another question. This is very good. Let's move to what each of you, about the visit of Lavrov, the timing of the, although he did not come personally to Sudan, he visited 3 countries before that, Iraq and other countries, and he came to Sudan. But it happened that by coincidence, maybe, that it coincided with the presence of the 6 delegates of the. So what can you read from the visit of Lavrov at this time when Sudan is boiling? And then we'll go to Engineer Abdullah, see his comment. How can you read it?
Yes. Before, let me say this, before reviewing the visits by Sergei Lavrov, I would like to comment on the other European envoys who came last week to Sudan. I do believe that all regional and international mechanism who come to Sudan to help us in order to agree upon what we like, all these efforts are good for us.
Good for us.
Yes, but the problem is not those people from outside world. The problem lays on Sudanese themselves.
On us.
We wouldn't like to be together. Maybe for some reasons, some political parties like the transition period and like framework agreement to get rid of their political opponents. Some of them like the transitional period as a bridge to general election. And here the differences between all political parties, the old regime, are so hot. Unless Sudanese themselves come together, put the interest of all Sudanese nation as a top objective, we will never reach what we like as Sudanese people. Then I come to comment on
the visit of Lavrov.
Lavrov visit. Lavrov visit is something expected because Russia, very important country in the world, in Security Council, in arena at large in the world, administrating war with Ukraine. Russia feel that Western countries and others try to belittle the role in Africa and everywhere. For all these causes, Lavrov visits the areas, starting with Iraq, Mauritania, Mali, and then Sudan. Yes, Sudan, since the era of former President Omar al-Bashir, started issues concerning to build, for example, a military base at Red Sea in Sudan.
Red Sea, yes.
But unfortunately, after the December Revolution, that agreement halted. Now, Africa as a continent is full of conflicts. Russian have many existence in many countries in Africa, competing with the European countries other. For this, Russian envoys or Russia is full of conflicts. Russian have many existence in many countries in Africa, competing with the European countries other. For this, Russian envoys or Russian external minister, his visit to Sudan may deal with these interactions. Maybe start again building of military base at Red Sea in Sudan, maybe investment, maybe to look at future, because Sudan now is in close future may form a civilian government. For all these things, this visit is important for Russian and important for us as Sudanese. We Sudanese, we look for all those who came to us. We are very important country, a huge country in Africa. We have great economic resources and human resources and strategic location. For all these and others, it is usually many countries
to welcome the
come to us. Yes,
but Ariel, I noticed something which I want to ask you about it. Why did you say, unfortunately, after the December Revolution, as if you are siding with Russia, although most of the people that are talking about the America and European, which one is better for Sudan? You cannot be in the gray area. You have to lean to one side, either the Russians or the West. So you said unfortunately.
Yes, I said.
Why did you say unfortunately?
I say unfortunately for that, which had happened in the era of President Omar al-Bashir. Unfortunately for Russian and also for Sudanese, you
want the Russian bases in Red Sea? You would like to see that? This will bring health to the country.
I see that and I view that former regime of Omar al-Bashir is a regime, national Sudanese government.
Yes.
Have the right to conclude agreement with the other country in the world. And that was correct. That was correct in that time, and even now, it's correct. Yeah. If it is benefitful and useful for us to do so now, we have to do this immediately.
But you know, al-Bashir, when he was in trouble, he was in deep trouble with America, with the sanctions. He just wanted to, it was not something political, the tactics was not good, because if you invite the enemy, Russia now is the enemy of almost all people after the invasion of Ukraine. But anyhow, We hope that we have to be in the safe side. Engineer Adam, what do you think? What is your comment on what Professor said? First about the Lavrov visit,
Okay.
and about the comment of the unfortunate.
Actually, this is international policies and international politics. If we see and observe the situation of Sudan now and this bottleneck, political bottleneck, the more actors and more players of Sudan monitor is Western group.
Western group. Yeah.
Western group, the mediation and the other actions and other processes by Western group. That means if the things driven and evaluated in this, it will be driven to the West.
To the West.
To the West. Western group, which is a capital group. In that, let us see, withdraw a little bit, we'll go a little bit away. The government, the international governing is led by two main polars. The Western group, which is monitored by USA, and the Eastern group, which is monitored by Russia in the past. There's another level, another group, which is small, but I think it is important. The natural group, which is, or the neutral group, which is called the neutrality level. This is within 70s and 80s. The neutrality group was led by three leaders. In the Middle East, there's Jamal Abdel Nasser. In Eastern group, there's Marshal General Tito. And in India, there is Gandhi. And in Africa, I think there's Desmond Nyerere, Julius Nyerere.
Nyerere and Juan
Nkrumah. Those are leading the third group, which is called the neutrality or neutral group.
Non-alliance group.
I think this
was very effective. It was very strong, by the way.
I think that will be the most ideal mechanism of rolling the international issues. For us as Sudanese, I think it is most better to keep in the middle and to be a radicalist. To be radical, to deal with the Western group and with the Eastern group. Mr. Lavrov represents his country and his country benefits, and that is normal. He's looking for the future benefits, and that is practical. For us as Sudanese, we have to monitor the issue eventually with open mind. That is, I think, the ideal mechanism of our running our issues.
Because that's why the acting foreign minister, Ali Sadiq, he was a little bit he's shying away from saying the actual reason for the visit. He was talking about trade, cooperation, things which is normal in any visit, but people expected more from him, more than this. Because actually he did not say this is something, it is a slogan or it is a statement which is carried in any meetings.
Okay.
Bilateral meeting.
Now we are approaching the stability. We are not distinguished with a stable government now, but approaching rebuilding the coming government. So through that, every limbs, East and West, are looking to put their steps from now and to see what is tomorrow. And that is normal thing.
But don't you think that this is unfair, because already when Lavrov came, he intervened. The other bloc, the Western bloc, already they went far in the reconciliation or in the process of the transition of the democratic change. And it is a little bit late. He came after signing the Framework Agreement. So it is extremely difficult to be in the middle. You cannot give him the same weight as the weight of the others. Do you agree with me?
As I said, that it's most ideal for us to be a neutral.
Neutral.
Yes, and radical. To deal with all limbs, just to be guided with our benefits. Our benefits will lead us and will guide us with East and with West and with Middle and with other parts. That is the matter. Another way, there is a universal gap of food. I think that is one most important factor to be considered. This gap of food also they imagine that Sudan can play a major role on it due to the Russian-Ukrainian war. So from that, I think that also every limb and every part is looking for its steps in Sudan, and it is for a place.
Okay, I tell both of you something very interesting. Just a small wisdom put almost 2,400 years ago by a Chinese general, Sun Tzu. This was a general, he's a philosopher, and at the same he was a writer. He wrote a book, Art of War.
Yeah.
What's one important book, Art of War. In that book he said, this is a quotation, his quotation, he said, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, then you don't have to be afraid of 100 battles.
Okay.
If you know yourself, but you don't know your enemy, although even you win battle, but you will definitely suffer a defeat.
Okay.
But if you know you don't know neither yourself nor your enemy, you will succumb to battle. You will fail all the time.
Okay.
So that's I said this because the important, the first one is the most important. He said, and the third is the worst. That you don't know yourself and your enemy. This is the worst. The first one is the best, which you have to know yourself and your enemy. If you know yourself and the problem is that we are now in the third, the worst. We don't know ourselves and we don't know our enemy. Ourselves, we know the points of strength we have, what you talk about, the agricultural resources, mineral resources, we have, so we did not this regime, but since independence, nobody cared about this. We don't know our enemy also because we don't know the enemy the enemy is looking for interest only, not loving Sudan, but for the interest of the, so we don't know both ourselves, and that's why we are in trouble, and that's why Sudan is crippled since independence. Okay, so I agree with you that we have to know ourselves very well, and to know the points of strength. We have a lot of points of strength by which we can twist the arm of any group, but we are not using this.
Okay.
Well, you have to. Do you have to add something?
Yeah. Very nice. You said we have to know ourselves well. Okay. We have to know our reality well. We have to know our problems, crises, and issues.
Yes.
For example, we live in many problems and crises since independence of Sudan in 1956.
Yes.
Till now, there is no identified diagnosis for our problems,
Yeah.
crisis. For example, you see war in Nuba Mountain, in Darfur, and before at Southern Sudan, before referendum and formation of Republic of South Sudan. Question: who behind these wars really? Why they do this? This question is very important to know ourselves and to know our enemy.
Yes, it's very important.
I do believe since the last days of former President Omar al-Bashir, they may try to diagnose our problems, crises, and issues. They may put on the injured, put the fingers on the injured.
Yes.
For that, they started a program of normalizing relation with Israel, for building a strategic partnership, not only with the United States, but with all the countries in the world. I think this is principles are good for us, important for us to know ourselves, to know our enemy.
That's well, this is very good. But okay, now let us move to in three episodes, past three episodes, we discussed the main point of the framework agreement. We talked about the Juba agreement. We talked about dismantling of the hostage regime, the practice of the old commission or committee, and the reform for dismantling committee again to come back, but on the basis of the rule of law. Now we want to discuss with you a very muddy and sticky issue. People always try to touch it and then they keep away. One of the issues in the framework agreement is the reorganization or restructuring of the army. The army. The army, now we have everyone knows that we have more than one army. We used to have one national army. This is what we believe in. Others, we have now the rapid support forces of the army. The armed struggle forces, each group, they have their own armies, which is something very alarming. You have in one country, you have a number of, but at the same time, it's very sticky, especially between the issue of reintegrating the rapid support forces with the national army. And this, there is a lot of contradiction and a lot of sensitivity in this. What is your comment on this issue to be part of the framework agreement?
Well, actually, one army with national policies and national base is most important.
One army.
One army with national base and with national aspects. That is the ideal modality. We want to have one army, one police institution, and one intelligence institution. That is the ideal, and there are so many other international modalities. We can make some hybridization with others to subtract and to come out with most relevant modality for us. That is it. On the other way, within the time of safety and within the time of peace, I think there is no need for more forces. But in case of emergence and wars, we may need some other additional arms, but to be as a reserve. That thing is also, it is deal with in so many countries. These are the modalities.
So what about the integration, the rapid support forces?
Integration is too important to avoid the conflict between the forces. It is too important to make one army, to have one army, one police, and one intelligence. But this should come through the professionals and specialists. Not everyone will.
Not the civilians.
Yes, not the civilians alone. To be monitored merely with the specific military experts and other relative institutional with the military aspects. That should be come in such a way.
Now, what's your comment on this? You believe in one army, but how to go about it? How can you believe in integrating? Well, this is the issue. It's in the framework agreement, but the army, the general of the army, they don't accept the involvement of the civilians in this. Is a highly professional and technical problem. What is your comment?
Yes, I do believe this point, reform of army, reform of military and intelligence, police institutions, issues an issue of difference. Because civilian or political parties view that reforming as only to get rid of some offices in these institutions, in Sudanese army, in intelligence, in police. Only to get rid of what they believe or viewed as a politician or belonging to some political parties. I do believe this point is important, reforming of such institutions, but should be done by, for example, the army forces themselves, intelligence itself, police itself. This is technical operation. As Sudanese people, we would like to build a great army to protect us, to protect our land, to protect our dogma, to protect our unity, keep us one. And so intelligence, we like very strong intelligence, because we would like to deal with the world at large. Now in the world there are many criminal organizations. Some of them try to blow up security in Sudan, to import problems. And so investment will never come to a country having had a very strong institution of police and intelligence, for example. For all this, we like from civilians and political parties to support this operation, not to intervene in this operation.
This is one side of the issue. So you both agree that we would like to see one national army.
Yeah.
But details and the actual work should be left to the military or the professionals themselves. But another issue which is also a problem, not in Sudan, in other countries, especially Egypt, the involvement of the military on the economic sector.
Okay.
Because they have a lot of, now they have in the OCD regime give wide range of activities in competing. Now they're competing with traders.
Okay.
So what is your comment on this? And then we see the professor.
Okay, that is very good question. Within the war situation, we need a very effective and a very satisfied forces. Yes, to be keen and consolidated in the war. Yeah. Within the peacetime, we need active and productive force also. In that way, within the time of the peace, yes, the soldiers and the forces can be involved in productive activities, such as industry, such as other activities. This is in so many other countries, and that is enough. But should come through regulations and through regularities that come in line with the economic officials and economic systems. That is it. I think it is important.
But what's important that the military they have a different area in which they can shine, when they can work, which is related to industry like military industry, like weaponry and ammunition. But when they go to traders like export of say whatever, sometimes they go to export the sesame, and that's why people are worried, because the traders, the conventional traders, they are worried that these people are coming to their domain where they cannot go to the military domain. Yes, I agree with you. In the peace time, they have a lot to do other than competing with their own nationals.
Yeah. Yes, the trading, something completely different. But in production, I say production. Yes, they can be involved in production activities,
which
like
industries, to military, maybe,
and in particular to meet and to cope the military needs.
Yes.
But sometimes may also can be involved in the civilian needs. That's important. If you look at our neighbor, Egypt, the main huge producer in the industry is belong to.
That's what is happening now, you know,
Yeah.
in Egypt.
Yeah.
The World Bank and they are trying to force them to reduce the size of the involvement of the military. One of the issues now Egypt is in trouble in starting financial troubles. One of the issues which is alarming the World Bank and the IMF is the involvement of the military in almost all sections of the economy.
Okay, and this can leave the.
So it's not a good example.
The bank, the central bank aside. Let us deal with our internal issues.
Yes.
To make it in line with our regulations, where economic regulations, with audited regulations, with something like that. Within that, we can keep our forces at the time of peace
Without conflicting interests.
a well producer, and that will empower our economy. That's important.
Okay, Professor,
Yeah.
what do you think of this?
Okay, I would like to say we have to differentiate between practices of trading, any economic work by those who involved or in service, military service, police service, intelligence service, and between a huge investment for such institutions. There is a difference. What we like to be done is that Sudan Army, Sudan Intelligence, Sudan Police must have a great investment in all fields of life, to bring them a huge fund to finance the fields of operation, field of building themselves, training, and so. General budget of all Sudan, maybe the fund is not enough.
Yes.
The great armies in the world, like in the United States, in Great Britain, in Germany, in France, all they have great investments, investment for such institutions. Here in Sudan, yes, we like only to be done this investment away from the practicing of duties.
Okay. Now we have our last question because we have about 4 minutes left, 4 minutes or even less. But in the very short question to both of you, which is people are still a little bit worried about the vicious circle of a small, short political government after election, democratic civilian governance, followed by military coup. This happened because now the military, they ruled since independence 67 years ago, 54 years of military rule and only 12 or 13 years of democracy. So what about, in 1 minute, what is the best way to avoid the military coup?
As I see, the most ideal modality is to get together, to incorporate all parts, civilian and the military, in the one deck of dialogue together. Because both of them are stakeholders of the reaction of the politics, military and the civilians. If they sit together and discuss together in a dialogue, in a media dialogue, they can come in line or come to a last solutions to agreed upon. That I think so.
Okay.
I think unless we do a comprehensive national reconciliation, and we have a strategic vision for future of Sudan, pave the way for democratic and civilian rule in Sudan. Unless we do this, we cannot get out from these vicious cycles.
Okay, I think thank you both of you for being with me in this hot dialogue. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us. We greet our friends, Professor Gariballah and Engineer Adam, for being with us in this episode. We hope to see you next week in a different topic of dialogue horizon related to what is going on in the country. Thank you and bye.